Alright, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. We are back. We'll try this again. Sorry about yesterday ending so abruptly. Internet did not want to play games. It was being erratic all day and yeah, decided at some point it just didn't want to keep working. So that ended our stream a bit early yesterday. And I can show you what I got up to in the interim, which you didn't see. So I was exploring this Gramosaurus. Sadly, this side was pretty knackered and I got very frustrated. So my happy smiley face block got hit and I decided to try to be fancy with it, and it turned out that was probably the right thing to do because I tapped it open and it split beautifully. And so it couldn't really have gone any nicer, which is weird when the little ones were so badly preserved. But I am very happy with that one. It is annoying that the ones on the other side are so rubbish and there's some decisions to be made about what the heck I'm going to do with them, because that's not worth it. This is sort of worth it, but yeah, that one definitely worth it. And that's a peach of a Gramosaurus. It's absolutely beautiful and a really good size too. So yeah, we'll have to make some decisions about what I want to do with this going forward. It may just get left as is. Probably should deserve just to tidy off this corner. But yeah, you can see there's another little one just tucked underneath, and with the Belemnite on the other side. Yeah, still decisions whether or not it's worth worrying about this side or not, but hey, that's that's where that one ended up, and yeah, it's about as good as the Gramocenters you'll ever see, and amazingly just from a split. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Just a shame that my prep skills with a hammer are better than my prep skills with a tool, with a fancier tool. Yeah, so that one is done, at least for now. I can't really do much more with it. So what I had planned to spend a couple of days on ended up being a one-day job. Spent a bit of time on one that I had been working on in a previous stream last week, and just smoothed down the matrix of it. This one was one that this outer world had sort of broken and had bits all over the place, so that's been smoothed down. Still a little bit of tidying up to do, but that's pretty close to done as well. So yeah, I spent a little bit of time off stream. Sorry you didn't get to see it, but it was for my own sanity, me needing to do some prep, because yeah, it was getting very frustrating that the internet was just not playing games. So we got a little bit of decision what we want to do now, whether we want to go back to something like a deck, or if we want to pick up another multi-block and have a play. So Mr. Landfill or any of the other guests who may be around, does anyone have a preference for what we try to do? I feared that was what you were going to say, was dealer's choice. So I'm having a quick rummage through some of the million boxes of things I've got knocking around to see if there's anything that catches my eye. And it is tempting to do another Gramosaurus block and see if we can get one that goes a bit smoother, but I do wonder if we just go back and do something simple for a day. That is the debate. Choose the one that will reveal its secrets. Yeah, if I could guarantee that you wouldn't have seen even just a partial bit of the prep yesterday, I would have would have skipped all of that faff and jumped straight to the hammer and been good to go. That is the issue I have. Is whilst learning the skills, there is an awful lot that I'm going to get wrong, and awful lot of time going to be spent on things that shouldn't be looked at, or at least it definitely shouldn't be looked at in that much detail. But yeah, every once in a while you just end up hitting it with a hammer, and turns out that was the thing you should have done from the beginning. Right, let's have a look at this. This might be a terrible choice, but welcome, Shirley. Glad you've managed to get everything sorted. Do I have any bone blocks? No, I don't, sadly. It is something I am very desperately lacking in my collection. In my shed I've got little verts only, so the one that's been worked on previously, so there's a little vertebra there. Needs finishing as per usual, getting that edge exposed, but have removed a lot of it. Then there's another partial vertebra that is in this block, but only a partial bit, pretty much gone, but just enough bone to know that it's what it is. But no, sadly I am lacking bone blocks. It is one of my biggest frustrations that I don't have more of them. So could do something a bit different. This is a multi-block from Horsker, so Upper Lias section of Horsker, and it's filled with ammonites, probably Claviceras or Eleganticeras type ammonites. Came out from a really big block. For the most part, not a lot in the other block, so you can just see there's one ammonite there that broke and a few edges, but for the most part there was nothing else in the rest of it. It's all in this bit, but it's a solid set of layers of ammonites that you start up there and continue all the way down, so there's a bit of depth to it as well. So we might have a bit of a play with this, basically brutalize this top section, get down to this top ammonite layer, and then start working down and see what's what. Will give us something to do for a few hours today, and seeing how we get on, maybe a couple of hours over the next couple of days as well. Hopefully it goes a little smoother than the Dremels did yesterday. It is very frustrating when they're like that, but sometimes it is just the way it goes, and yeah, there's an awful lot of material I've got that needs probably someone with more skills than I to be dealing with it. But on the plus side, at least there is, at least for the minute, a never-ending supply of it coming out of the coast, so that as long as you spend the time there, you can keep finding more. And I will continue an endeavour to keep finding stuff to prep and for people to have a look at. Right, let's have a look-see at this, shall we? Yeah, it is really satisfying when you can get a large bit to come off. I don't know if you can actually see the lines that I'm creating at the minute, the fact that they're super shiny. So these blocks, kind of like the LE nodules, are full of pyrite, and so they go really, really shiny when you're prepping them. And so you get that lovely shine, but it's why we're just going to have to kind of keep alternating between kind of going one direction and then going sort of perpendicular to it to try and keep making big chunks come off. And it hopefully, cannot guarantee it, but hopefully will reduce the risk of us pinging too many ammonites. Right? We will hit some. There's just, I don't think there's a way we can go through when the block is basically, you can see just how many ammonites are in some of these layers. As we're going down, we're probably going to catch a couple. The goal is hopefully to catch the big ones the least, and if we're going to hit something, hit a little one. But ideally we hit none, but I think realistically, except that we're going to catch a couple, and do our best at trying to reduce the number that we hit, as you should with any prep, obviously. But I think it is inevitable that I will hit something, and some of the best prep guys, I am sure, can probably do it without hitting anything, but I think a lot of them probably ding a few even still. Yeah, we'll just keep working. Alright, so a couple of things. I have run into my first ammonite way higher than I was expecting to. So I was expecting to have about a centimetre overburden before running into them. First one is there. Second one that I have put chisel straight into is there. You'll see it when I'm prepping. If you see a big puff of white, there's a very good chance that I've just nicked something full of calcite. So that's exactly what I've done, is trying to make space to clear this one, run into another one, and I think that's going to be the case all the way through. Just a question of running into them. As Shirley has just asked about, you can basically cross hatch with any of the grinding mechanisms, be it a saw, a Dremel, a whatever. And the reason people tend to do that is to then use a chisel to just knock out the big bits quicker. So it's perfectly valid to do it. You tend to not do it when you're expecting to run into stuff near the top. So it's an alternative to basically using a large saw to just... So I'll use this block. So let's pretend that this is the ammonite layer and there's nothing in any of this section up here. And you just want to remove this section. This block is sufficiently small. You could take a rock saw or a tile saw or whatever your equivalent is and basically just cut just above the layer that the ammonites are in. However, in bigger blocks where you either can't get the tile saw in, or sometimes even on the beach, you'll see it, that what they'll do, and I have done it in the field or had it done with fossils in the field, is you'll cross hatch over the top, which gives you the depth that you need, and then you'll put a chisel between the bits, kind of not dissimilar to what we're doing here. But on a much bigger scale, and then you just chop the little like cubes out, and that's just again a quicker way to get down to the ammonites, if you know where the I say the ammonites, but whatever fossil it happens to be, if you're just trying to get down and through the matrix. Perfectly valid way to do it. It is worth doing if so. Saws and anything else are completely worth doing if they make your life easier and there's no risk to the fossil. So I've got, this is a cannonball. There's an elegant tisserus in this bit of glued mess here. And you can see I put a line in it and started prepping it down with the air tool. It takes so darn long that the correct way to do it is you take a saw and basically chop this off, stick the two bits back together, and then prep that last little bit with the air tool. And that would be the way you do it, and it's just using the tools that are available to make your life as easy as possible to speed things up. So any and all methods to make your life easier and to make the prep easier, perfectly valid and strongly encouraged, where it helps the prep go easier and smoother, and therefore makes your fossil prep better for the fossil. So yeah, I will keep prepping this. Obviously this seam here is just really shallow, and so we'll run into ammonites from pretty much where we're at all the way down. But we'll keep going. We'll find out what's in good shape, what I haven't pinged, and all the rest as we go. This stuff, as I said, is incredibly hard. So full of pyrite as we go. Some things will pop cleanly, some will not, and we'll just have to see what comes out. And as I said, I can guarantee it'll hit ammonites. There's no way around it when they're this dense, and the matrix is this hard, unless you're planning to spend 50, 100 hours just going really slowly. And even then, I suspect your odds of hitting something are pretty good, because you're probably just going to run out of space to maneuver. And sorry for the shed rattling in the wind. We've got quite a good day for wind today. Yeah, no worries. Sure, yeah. My pleasure to help out where I can. Please also understand, whilst I have a technical knowledge on a lot of these things, my practical knowledge is still very, very amateur. And so, yeah, how it's best done, all I can suggest is doing it and trying to find out. You'll see that the YorkshireFossils.net guys occasionally put out prep videos, and you'll see Mark Smith, so the dad of the two lads, he does quite a lot of fabulous prep, and he prepped a lot of my stuff. But when he's prepping bits, he's regularly using a saw to chop sections, particularly out of like the positive or the negative that's on the wrong side. So if you split a nodule and a piece goes to the wrong side, you'll see he chops out, like, say, that section and then sticks it back down rather than sticking the whole nodule and then having to prep the whole nodule down. So yeah, there are plenty of ways that you can use a saw or grinder or some combination of to speed up your prep, and it is why I am likely to buy a saw next rather than an aerobrator. It's just to speed things up, because you can also get, I think, a tile saw, whilst not as great as a proper rock saw. They work reasonably well, albeit with a thicker groove that they leave, because they're less precise, but apparently they work fine, if not fabulously, for at least what I need, and they'll be a lot cheaper. So yeah. Sorry, just bear with us. I just adjust the camera a touch. I've realized that you guys are a little off on the side from where you normally are. And also, yeah, unfortunately, the shed has one loose board that rattles. Yeah, there we go. So we're getting down to the layer, at least in various bits down on this side. So this one we knew about. This one is recent exposure. There's a little piece of another one here. Between the one that we discovered prepping and this one that we've discovered here, presumably there's going to be more. It's not that much difference in height if you sort of turn it on the side. You know, or I can see from my side, presumably you hopefully can see as well, that the layer that the ammonite, this one, is on is pretty much contiguous or continuous, depending on your preference for language, from one to the next. So I'll keep moving down this, and I suspect we'll start running into more. There is very little chance that the shells are going to stay on most of these. You'll see maybe a little tiny piece of shell like right next to the middle, but as prepping, most of it is popping away with the matrix because the matrix is so pyrite filled. Hopefully you guys can see that again, that shine on all of the stuff I'm prepping is just pyrite. So it's hard going, and it will be for the duration. And it will be interesting to see the layer as we go down, because obviously it's at the top on this side, but it's whether that layer drops down or continues at the height we're at, because I'd expect it to be quite a lot lower on this side, so I'd expect to have to remove a lot more matrix on this side. But you never know with these things. There's been a very interesting bit of matrix that I've gone through here, which looks a bit like the matrix you get filled with like fish scales and small ammonite aptecae and things like that at the top already. So I'm not sure if that's an indicator there's a lot more or not, but that's fairly common. Again, in a lot of the cannonball nodules you see that. But yeah, it's I do like that. I can see it on the camera as I just tip it. That sort of the shine that goes across the nodule. Yeah, it's very, very filled with pyrite. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't try and start on the other side. The other side got an awful lot more matrix. I'll try and remember to keep muting you. Sorry about that. Last time caught it, thankfully, after not too long. But we'll try not to make you all go deaf with prep sounds. And to preempt what I suspect several people have thought and what I am currently thinking, it may well have been easier just to put a hammer and chisel through the middle of it and seen what came out of it. Because this is slow going and it's very hard. But at the same time, I'm hoping that I'm giving it the best chance of being a good piece. I mean, we'll see how it goes. If I do a terrible job, but there's a seam, a line, natural break that runs through that section there, and so I can always put a chisel in that and give it a hit later. But I'd rather not. But as I had feared and I had pre-warned everyone, so this is the one that we'd seen me ding really early on. So that's another little ammonite. There's another ammonite I caught there. There's a teeny tiny one here. There's this ammonite, this one. Looks like there might be another one here. There's a bit of calcite here, which I can't decide if that's shell of an ammonite, a calcite infill, or shell of something else. But it is just very slow going. I will even bring it up so you can have a look. See, so yeah, we've got lots and lots of little bits and pieces. As I said, this is the one that's okay. This one's alright, but it's at 90 degrees to the rest. This one should be okay. Ding this one. Ding this one here. And something else going on down here. It's slow going, but it's keeping me busy, which is part of it. And definitely a skill to learn how to extract multi-blocks, which are, like this, hard as hell, and a good challenge. And yeah, if all goes to pot and I lose my stream and all of it goes wrong, you may well come back tomorrow and find out that I have just given up and put a chisel in it and just let the fates decide what lives and what doesn't when it comes to the fossils. But I would much rather do it this way if possible. Sorry, I'm just making everything wobble. For some reason, my desk is a little extra wobbly today. Ugh. I'm not quite sure why. I've not changed anything. But hey, alright, what are we up to today? Or we've got this one coming out. They are very, very calcitic inside and oddly preserved. Kind of tough to explain what I mean, other than you can see the calcite running through this one. I mean, obviously the calcite where we've dinged them before, but this one I did not ding, or if I did not ding it hard, and yet all of the shell layers have peeled clean off, and so its little calcite center has come to the top, and I fear that, sorry, a little bit, and I fear what's going to happen as we go on, all that calcite is just basically going to crumble away. May not be the end of the world, as I said. We've got a lot of them to play with in terms of the depth of this nodule, but it's interesting and a concern for me just to figure out how to prep around it and try and limit it on these top ones, whilst we then get down to hopefully the nicer big ones slightly further in. And you can also see the angles and everything that they're all at. They're at pretty much every angle. So these are pretty much vertical, these are pretty much horizontal. So it does make prepping very challenging. There is one here that I think is actually sitting on top of this one. So yeah, they are everywhere, and it is just a bit slow going. As I try and figure out how best to approach this one, I'll obviously change down to a smaller tip to try and see what the middle's like. But it's interesting. I'm also intrigued because of how fat this one is, whether that's just the angle it's been cut at, or if it's something else in here. My suspicion is just the angle it's been cut at. Like if you slice a piece of bread on certain angles, you can make it appear thicker even though it's the same piece of bread or same loaf of bread. But yeah, if you just cut it on sort of, instead of straight up and down, if you cut it on an angle, you can make them appear different thicknesses. So I think that's what's going on there. We'll just have a look, see, because there's always a very small chance that there is something more exciting in here, at which point I apologize. I will definitely have to stop prepping it because it would go to someone far more competent than I to see if it could be saved. But, yeah, we'll have to get there when we get there. And the shed's busy tapping in the background again. just bear with me for 30 seconds, just dealing with someone at the front door. Sorry about that. We are back now. Yeah, so failed fossil preps. That is something we talked about a little bit previously. Let me just see if I've got my little box of them. So I have quite a lot of bits that are rubbish, or things that I've been disappointed by, or things that just aren't good enough for whatever reason. And so I have a box of shame, all the things that I've not kept, or bits that I've not wanted, or things that just aren't any use. So some of them, like, it's parts of an elegantisserious nodule. There's bits from Ravenscar of some of these materials that just don't prep. There's stuff that it's all Ravenscar Gramo or high Gramo beds. Some bits that I picked up and gone, oh, that's interesting, and then it actually doesn't have any ammonites in it for whatever reason. So I have a box. I have a box of shame, or a box of rubbish. And so what will happen with that? What will happen with that is it will all end up probably returned to a beach at some point. If there's anything that I think might have a chance to be saved by someone with better prep skills, it may end up going off. Misunderstood rather than fail. Yeah, I mean, some of the high up Ravenscar stuff is a red bed that has tormented and haunted me for ages, because pretty much all of the ammonites look like the ones that I just showed you. You can see that there's an ammonite there, but they're never there, if that makes any sort of sense. There's bits of them, but they're not good. But I always keep hunting them. There are other bits that are just not worth having. So like the top of that elegantisserious block, the LE that came out of that block is on the website actually, but the negative just isn't worth anything. So they are all in a box. Some of it ends up in my driveway. Some of it ends up in a skip if I ever get one in, or when we do landscaping and get a skip. And some of it will be returned to the beaches. But what I have said previously is, if you are returning fossils to the beach, please try and return them to where they came from, or return them to the holderness. So Ravenscar stuff is sufficiently odd that it shouldn't be at any of the other beaches, with the exception of possibly one small section of Sands End, where you do get some of the Porpoceras and possibly the unusual pseudos. So you do get some of these higher up things, but in general, anything from the Porpoceras, the Pseudolioceras bulbiens, the Horgia, the Grimoceras, all of that doesn't show up pretty much anywhere else on the rest of the Yorkshire coast. So if you're dropping it back off to the beach, please don't drop that sort of stuff off at Saltwick Bay or anything like that if that's what you're planning to do, unless you're going to make it abundantly clear that you're leaving it in a box for people to take the bits that they want. The reason that you can drop it on the holderness with a little less concern is the fact that the holderness already is a proper mix of everything. It's got moved around in the ice ages by the ice sheets as they've come down from the north, and stripped stuff from all over the countryside and deposited it at the end of its ice sheet, so at what's called the terminal moraine in the case of glaciers or glaciers, depending on the pronunciation preference. And these terminal moraines basically are just piles of mud and rock and debris, and so that is what the holderness coast is. If you're going to drop stuff from all over the shop, that is a good place to do it, because that is a natural mix of everything. And so you do find Grimoceras there, you do find Horgia there, but you also find lower Lias stuff, you find middle Lias stuff, you find middle Jurassic stuff, you find Cretaceous stuff, you find all sorts there, and you find Ice Age stuff, unsurprisingly. So that is an acceptable place to do it if you're going to drop stuff. But yeah, just to be aware of it, just please don't chuck Ravenscar stuff at like Runswick or Port or Saltwick or any of those sort of other locations. And any of the slightly high stuff, so the Pseudolioceras bulbiens, the Porpoceras, please don't chuck them at Sands End, just because there is an area where they apparently do come out, and so we don't want to confuse the people who actually are looking at the rock layers. Importantly, basically, as Mr. Landfill has summarized, you don't want to confuse people. Yeah, and there are some people who take it really seriously, where their little layers are the stratigraphy, and so scientifically, it's really important you don't mess with that. So please just be aware of it. I just thought actually there's a couple of funny stories of even on the Yorkshire coast, people plant fossils presumably bought from a shop, and they're trying to get the kids to find it, and so we've ended up with like Moroccan trilobites, or trilobites, depending again pronunciation preferences, on the Yorkshire coast, which are a very, very different age. So trilobites are generally sort of 250 million years old to like 550 million years old. The ones out of Morocco are like 400 million years old. They should not be appearing in the same sediments that we find on the Yorkshire coast, which are about 180 million years old. I remember that it showed up on the feed of social media where on one of the tours, two of them showed up, and the people who found them claimed that they didn't plant them. Whether they did or didn't, I can't say. But they were on the beach and were reported to the tour guide. So that then caused all sorts of chaos and ended up with some emails being exchanged with the Natural History Museum to see if they thought that they were important, which if they were not from Morocco and not planted, they would have been incredibly important, because they would have been the first like known occurrence of them out of like Yorkshire, at least that size. There are some trilobites known in Yorkshire, but they're very small and very rare, whereas a big one, fairly well preserved, being found on the Yorkshire coast, whilst not impossible because of the ice sheets, would have been a very odd thing to have been found, and probably would have been quite important. So again, it's just, yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot, and people aren't often maliciously doing it, but do just be aware of it. The challenge you've done there is the same as what I've done, and so now you're kind of obliged to get so famous that they have to put a blue plaque down on your house that says a famous geologist or paleontologist lived here between certain dates, and then they can make it known to the general public why all sorts of fossils are found in your drive that are clearly stratigraphically incorrect. Obviously that is a joke, but for those of you who don't know, in the UK we do have blue plaques that go on doors and buildings where famous people lived or did famous things, and so you know, there's your challenge, is to get sufficiently famous that you get an explanation forevermore about why you've got random rocks in your drive. Well, I say you are welcome anytime, Shirley. Excuse me. Yeah, always welcome on the tours. I say the dates are still up for the rest of the year, assuming it is steady enough through the summer. There'll be dates going up towards the end of the year for next year. As said, there's an abundance of sites in the UK. We're very, very lucky that we've basically got geology that spans from sort of the Cambrian, which is sort of the first generally large-scale life. I say large-scale, but like first visible life. And we then go all the way up to the ice ages, and we've got pretty much every age represented at some point in fossils from most of them as well in the UK. The Jurassic is obviously probably the strength of the UK when it comes to both the Yorkshire and South Coast, and we have an incredible diversity of marine fauna with some fantastic sort of Cretaceous vertebrate stuff when you get to the Isle of Wight. Yeah, it's well worth exploring, and we do never know what's going to be found, and so I'm hopeful for you guys. The big exciting news coming out of the Charmouth Lyme Regis area recently is all of their sharks that they've had what they think is probably one individual animal come out with like 4 or 5 people picking up bits of it, and so you get little bits of shark's teeth and shark skin, sort of cartilagey bits all in a nodule, and they look fantastic. And that's the stuff that's been coming out and making the news down there recently, as well as obviously some marine crocodiles, some really early marine crocodiles, lots of bits. So yeah, you do never know, and I hope you guys have some good luck down there. Sorry, just having a look before I said anything. Starting to get into that sort of density of them that I was expecting. So we've got one there, 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 one. Yeah, that sort of gist of like. Sorry, whilst the camera's just having a little bit of a rock there as I've bumped it. So yeah, there is a lot of ammonites in these blocks. This one is very, very filled, but it is a pain in the butt because every time I think, oh, I've got a bit of space to work, I run into another one. So I just bumped into this one, this one here, trying to work around this one, and then bumped into the couple. There's one there, and I think there's one up there, trying to work around this one. And bumped into this one and this one whilst I was working on this one. You see the joys of it, and so I'm gonna keep working down this bit over here. I know this is the side that, if you look at the section, there's a bunch of ammonites pretty much right underneath the top. So we'll try and get one side tidied down and slowly start working back across the rest. Because at least that way, if we know where the limit is for ammonites on one side, there's one less side to accidentally run into them whilst I'm prepping. That's my logic, at least. Whether it's a good logic, who knows, but that's what I'm going to work with, is prep this side down, get this side sort of cleaned back and just slowly work that way. But I will almost certainly then instantly ignore that and then start prepping over here, so don't be surprised if you see me bouncing around between bits. It's just sometimes need to just take your eyes away from the section you're working on, refresh, and then come back to it. Yeah, I can't get over the fact that my internet's been 100% stable today. It makes absolutely no sense today why it's been so solid, whilst yesterday dropped all the way out. Who knows? Nothing has changed. Literally sat in the shed with the door open, same as yesterday. So who knows? But where are we at? We're starting to hit the everywhere you turn there's an ammonite. So we've got ammonites here, 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 and probably more that I haven't pointed out just yet. Yeah, so they're basically everywhere. And it starts to get very interesting as you go through, because as I said, basically every time I remove a bit of matrix and bump into another ammonite, so you'll see a few little white points on a few of them, and that's where I've just dinged them. I'm not even going to pretend like if I could do this entire thing without dinging them, I would be charging an awful lot of money for preparation rather than learning on the stream with all of you guys. So yeah, I make no pretenses of being an amateur and still very much learning. But yeah, I'd say we're probably not a huge distance off being able to slowly now start marching this back. So I don't think I'm going to go too much deeper here. We'll try and tidy this little corner, and then it's basically in between ammonites as we go and come back, and then we'll see what's up here. There's a non-zero chance that I may decide that some of them that I've dinged really badly may just get removed, and hope that there's another one underneath. And with how dense it is, there's probably a good chance that the top ones are not the only ones in that area. So if you remove one, for example, say I removed this little one here, which doesn't look great, but I've not really done anything to it, it just doesn't look great. We've got the one underneath it there, and there, so that's probably not the end of the world. Similarly, if I move this one, you'd find there's one there, probably more that would see underneath it. So that's what we will decide once we've gone all the way through and seen what's what. As then make some decisions about them, but that won't happen until we've cleared all the way back through, and so this is inevitably going to be a couple of days worth of prep, just because we are 2 hours into the stream, and we have cleaned up that much of a block that is twice the size, 3 times, 4 times the size, and then yeah, the matrix gets a lot deeper over this way, so it'll take longer to get down to it. So yeah, we've got all of that to look forward to for probably the rest of the streaming week, and hopefully in the mornings I'll be doing some tidying of some of those old preps that you've seen, because it'd be good to get a few more bits in the shop, and hopefully selling some bits, because I would like some new prep gear, and yeah, no prep gear unless I sell some bits or get my YouTube sufficiently monetized that it starts paying for my prep gear. So we got some things to go. Sorry. I don't know why this camera is shaking so much today, so I'm just having a quick look. I'm going to transition you so you're not all getting horrifically motion sick. Sorry. I am unsure why it's having a good wobble and not stabilizing. Sorry. Technology, eh? Yeah, apologies for this. It would be nice if everyone doesn't get horribly motion sick watching my stream. I know it's bad enough with the camera quality at the best of times. At least we're not 8-bit pixel colors. There we go. We're still bouncing around. I'm not sure why it's so bouncy today. But yeah, it seems like the table's lost a bit of stability. I don't know if I got something resting on it or what. Or maybe I'm just being too aggressive. But yeah, just bear with me again, sorry. It's still bouncing an awful lot and I don't want that. Right, there we go. Hopefully that'll be a little more stable. Just move the desk slightly away from edges and things. It might just be, as I said, that I'm just leaning on the box a little bit more, trying to get in onto all of the different bits. And the camera, yeah, I'll show you. So the setup is currently that it's mounted to this, which is sort of a flexi tripod, and obviously if I'm leaning and shaking the box too much, it's causing the table to move, which then causes the flexi thing to move, and then all of it moves. This gimbal should reduce the amount of wiggling, but as you can see, sometimes not, as you all get rocked around. But yeah, we will get back to it. now that we have such an up-tempo beat playing in the music, what I'm actually going to do is stop for a second. What I'm going to do is put some paraloid on some of these calcite bits. So this one here, which I don't think I dinged, but the shell came away and is continuing to come away, and all the calcite whorls are just falling to pieces. So I'm going to just put some paraloid on this one, the calcitic bits on this one, and possibly a little bit on the dot there, just to try and hold bits in place. I don't know if it'll work. It may well be a pointless endeavor and it may not make any difference whatsoever, but I'm just going to give it a go, just to see if it will make any difference. I still got obviously the middle to get out of this one, but I'd like it to survive if possible, because I think it's in a fairly nice position, but I cannot guarantee it will. But with this, at least, if we want to get rid of the paraloid, it comes off when you're prepping fairly easily, and if we just want to reverse it, just chuck some acetone on it and it will come off. So just do a few little bits where I know there's some stray calcite bits that might pop later. It's not like super glue, it's not a very strong adhesive, but it's just a little tiny bit, just to try and see if we can make some things survive that may not survive otherwise, and they may yet not survive anyway, but give them a chance and see what happens. Yeah, it's becoming very tricky. I mean, it's been tricky since it started, but it's becoming very tricky as we go down, just because, yeah, you run out of angles to approach things without running into the next thing, and so that's why I'm kind of having to work down next to some of these that I would have liked to kind of given a bit wider berth, just because I need some angles and space to then start removing matrix to get on a little further. So yeah. So lots and lots of them, all relatively small, all 50p size or smaller, but it has been nice to have a play with them, because I don't have many clavicerous bits in my collection. I've got plenty of small bits that need prepping, but not good multis, and so I'm hopeful this will be one of the good multis. And as I said, one big one that's still intriguing me here. As I said, I suspect it's just a big clevis just with an odd cut through, but we'll get down to that probably tomorrow. But we'll keep trying to just clean up through here, and then yeah, we'll be onto that section where hopefully we'll get down to it. And there is another ammonite whorl sat just on top of it here, but well, again, we'll just have to chase that and just see where it goes. Looking at it, it's just going to be a section of a very squished one, so it'll probably come out, but we'll see. Yeah, just a little frustrating bit here. So I was just trying to clean up the center of this one, and as I've been doing it, the calcite and it's just broken it, so there's pretty much a straight line across that way and a straight line coming this way, which is not me, or it is not because I put the chisel through it or the tip through it. It's just where the calcite is broken on sort of obviously the cleavage plane, as they're called, and so it's cracked that way and gone that way, which is very frustrating. Yeah, I might just quickly change the tip, just see if I can figure out how to make this inside clean without exploding all of my ammonites, because there's obviously going to be an issue for all of them. They've got this heavy calcite content and a heavy pyrite content on the outside, and it's making them very, very difficult. And I'm sure there's an art form to prepping them beyond what I have at the minute, but we will try and figure out a solution, because yeah, that is part of this. Yeah, Finn, sounds like you've had a great day. And I guess with the props, you're probably down Cotswoldy area, which would be some nice bits. I am having a struggle, and I haven't got a good answer for it. I just can't figure out why this preservation is so shockingly hard to prep, and it might just be that it is. But the calcite just exploding and fracturing at odd angles through the center of these ammonites, and so yeah, this one, like the middle, just fell to pieces, which I kind of was concerned about, which is why I put some adhesive on some of the other calcite bits. Yeah, they are nasty. When you get down to the calcite exposed, they seem to just shred, which is going to be a tricky one because I think we're going to have calcite exposure on most of them. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We may yet get hammer and chisel time, but that will not be today if we do go that way. And yeah, surely nautiloids are fabulous things, not super common anywhere really. So a single one is great. For some reason, they do seem to pop out on Monmouth Beach down on the south coast at Lyme Regis more regularly than other places. I don't know if that's just because they're all really damn big there, but they are relatively rare up in Yorkshire, and more common, it seems, in the upper than in the other strata, but you do get them all the way through to the lower layers, I believe. Yeah, another twist in the saga of calcite middles. So that one is actually okay, but it's a bit weird because we seem to have some calcite, or some of the horrific calcite is actually on the layers outside of what I would consider the bit that I'm aiming for. So it's almost like the shell's got an extra layer of calcite in it before you then get to the infill. So yeah, it's an extra level of trying to figure out what is the thing to prep and what can come away. So yeah, it's a bit trickier, but yeah, weirdly that one's okay. That middle's awful. That one's not terrible. And I do wonder if some of these might tidy further if that calcite comes away, and I just don't know. Finn, yeah, you are, yeah, nice. So you're gonna have a nice break up this way, presumably, for, I would say half term, but a sort of time. So that's the weekend. Yeah, so it's some nice tides for the week. So that's, I'm out on the 18th and then out on the 23rd and 24th for tours. I'm out hopefully on the 16th for a bit of personal fun fossiling and possibly again filming video fossil hunting sometime on the 19th, maybe? It's to be determined, and I have no idea which beaches yet for pretty much any of those, so cannot tell you exactly where we'll be. So if we do run into each other, do come along and say hello. Yeah, both great places, Sandsend and Hosker. I do enjoy both. So you do get out, good luck to you. So Sandsend, I look forward to seeing hopefully some more harposterus, there we go. And yeah, Hosker has been very good to me for middle layer stuff actually, the big bay between Hosker and Robin's Bay has been very good for middle layer stuff to me this year. But I quite like that Hosker section just because you basically drop through nearly the entire sequence from Upper Lias all the way down to the lower, not quite the lowermost parts of the Lias that we get in Yorkshire, but you get most of it there, which is quite nice. Oh, that is a damn good effort to find a harpo every time you've been. I seem to go through little pulses and yeah, Sandsend, like one day I'll find 3, then I'll find none for 6 more visits there, and it's been heavily hit recently, so I haven't been back in a while. But then, yeah, needs to just be explored some more, I am sure. Yeah, Finn's explaining the exact reason why you always split your nodules all the way down. That's there's an impressive amount of material that gets found from stuff that people have discarded. I'm pretty sure that, I would say not half, but probably 10 to 15% of things that I discarded people have hit once and not bothered to break down any further, and there is often stuff in them. One of my knives is pseudos out of raven scars from a block that's clearly been hit, and I tapped it again and then pop, out came the pseudo I prepped. So, advice for people going to Ravenscar: just be incredibly aware that it's currently technically closed. People are still going down there, but the footpath down both directions to the ferns and down to the down through the headland where the seals are technically closed at the minute, and there are signs up. You can walk around them, but just be aware they are technically closed. I do not know how the walk down to the seal headland, which is the likely route you'll go midsummer, will be. I think that's where there's been a big landslide, which is why they closed the path down. There was a landslide over winter, and I think it's taken out the stairs down on the seal headland side. Ravenscar is a fabulous place, but yeah, just be careful when you're going, and just be aware. I'm not sure what the current state of everything is. People are still going down to the ferns, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, just be aware. Yeah, and Ravenscar is just a fabulous place. Lots of hilldies, as you said, lots of cats, yeah, lots of grammos. But it does run out of material very quickly if it's been a busy year with not a lot of falls. And as I said, just double check when you're planning your adventures that way whether or not you can safely get up and down whichever route you're planning to take. You may find that you have to do the walk from Ravenscar all the way to Boggle if you get caught out by one of the people that's telling you the path is closed, possibly one of the SEAL or National Trust people, across the summer when it tends to be a lot busier. I live in hope that they will repair the path by then, but yeah, just keep an eye out on the North Yorkshire Moors website. They've got like a paths closure area, and you can check out what's still closed, but it is just worth keeping an eye on. So no worries for a heads up. I think technically Saltwick is actually closed, or the path down is technically closed as well. Again, nobody's listening to that, self included. That's just because there's been a couple of steps taken out. I'm assuming that is, again, the North Yorkshire mowers making sure they don't get sued if someone happens to fall down their steps, because they said, oh, path is technically closed. So, yeah, but it's just to be aware of, yeah, it's very annoying. That whole path and that setup is one of the reasons I keep looking at whether or not I could get an inflatable canoe or kayak to go from Boggle Hole, paddle around at high tide from Boggle all the way around to Ravenscar, and then paddle back whenever I so chose. Obviously, it would need some fairly calm waters and some enthusiasm for paddling, but it would be a lot easier than walking up that hill with a bag of rocks sometimes. I'm pretty sure of it. But I also am so sure that they would make a fortune if they had a golf cart from just where the bench is, just at the bottom of the golf course, so the top of the steps, all the way back up to the cafe, and charged £1 or £2 per person. And I think you'd find an awful lot of people willing to do that to save their legs up that thing, because I think it's the most soul-destroying section of that entire walk, when you think, oh, I'm almost back, and then you realise that you've almost got back, but in fact you are still going up a hill, and it just keeps going. So yeah, where are we at? Whoop. Alright, so frustrating. This one's centre is a world of calcitic hell. That one's not too bad. That one's not too bad. So there are some centres, that one's not too bad, that are okay. There's a lot of calcite in all of them, and it does make it very tricky. And I think the centres, I may have to just, like the pinpoint centre, may have to just accept it. I'm not going to get all the way down to them, and that might help save at least some of the ammonites. But what I'm going to do is give this a very quick rinse, just so we can get the dust off and the pyrite off and have a quick look at it again. There is a lot of work to do, but I might be calling it quits for at least today. I'm going to do a bit of servicing on the compressor and get all of the water out of it, just because I don't know if people know how things work, but the compressor, as it's getting all of the air into the chamber, what it does is it makes it condense, and so you end up with water sitting in the bottom, and so I'm trying to avoid my compressor rusting through and then exploding, which is one of the risks. But yeah, it's a lovely set of I think they're Claviceras or Claviceras, depending on your pronunciation preference. But let me just make a quick rinse, and then I can show you all where we're at, and give you all something to hopefully look forward to for the rest of the week, because I think this is how long it's going to take to try and do this block. Yeah, funnily, I'm not actually sure that's made them any better or worse to see. There's plenty of them there, and as I say, we're getting to the point that basically everywhere I go, I'm now hitting an ammonite, which is fun, challenging, and really cool. So yeah, we will see how we go. I'll turn the block that way, and then you can see the line of ammonites that comes here. You turn it the other way, and you can see the line of ammonites that runs all the way through that side. So we're going to have an awful lot more of them to go, to find and see how many more are in this block. It will take a fair old while, as we've managed to do. Not completed that far in 3 hours. So yeah, it'll be a fun one for the rest of the week, and hopefully a few more middles are slightly better preserved than this one. yeah, I say I'm hopeful, and I say thanks for everyone for being so enthused for it for me. I say I'm excited to see what it ends up at looking like. Even if it's a bit of a disaster, it's going to be a really useful learning experience because there are so many in there, and Claviceros are kind of like the Ellies of the world, just because they live in the pyritic, horrible nodules. So it'll be good to get that one down. I've got another similar style chunk of nodule just sitting, also needing to be prepped, which we can have a look at, although I think these are actually Ellies. But the same sort of matrix where it's all just solid pyrite. So yeah, I'm excited to see what it will be like. But yeah, if you're interested, keep watching either the streams. I'll be back tomorrow from about 1 British time. And if not, the videos all end up on YouTube after the fact. So if they're not there straight away, just keep an eye out because they'll be back up online by the evening whenever YouTube has finished processing them. So yeah, I think that is a good place to end it today. So a massive thank you to everyone as always for being here, watching, offering comments and advice and talking about all your fossils. It's always fun, and so thanks everyone for being here, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. I haven't considered setting one up. There are several fossil Discord servers already, but if the streams become sufficiently large that we're looking at more than sort of 10 people, then yeah, we may end up with a Discord or similar. But yeah, as I say, I'm looking at this and we've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 people in here maybe. So I think it wouldn't necessarily be in my best interest presently to run a whole Discord server, but as I said, I'm excited if we can get the numbers of viewers and participants on all of these things up. Why is this transition back? Then yeah, I'd say then I'd be more than happy to start looking at other ways of having people engage, and yeah, Discord I'd be happy to do. I've used it mostly for gaming with friends, but yeah, I'd say I know of some fossil ones that already exist, so yeah, not opposed to it. But all I can say is keep watching, keep encouraging others to watch, and the more people we can get involved, the more likely all of these other ideas are to come to fruition. Thanks for comments, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.